What is up, NFC East football fans, and welcome into another edition of the NFC East Roundtable. Even though the offseason has just begun, it is never too early for some bold predictions. And on tonight's episode, all of our panelist members will be giving a potential surprise move for each four teams in the NFC East. Before we get after it, make sure to head on over to BetUS and use the promo code YouTube150. That'll get you a 150% sign-up bonus up to $2,000 on your first deposit and a 125% bonus on your next two after that. Let's kick things off with Jay Tuck, who has losing DeMarcus Lawrence to free agency as the Dallas Cowboys' surprise offseason move. DeMarcus Lawrence has been the backbone for the Dallas Cowboys defense for over a decade, spending all 11 seasons of his career in Big D after being drafted by the Cowboys in 2014. The four-time Pro Bowler has notched over 60 sacks in his career with the Cowboys, and after missing most of the 2024 season with a foot injury, is now set to become a free agent heading into the 12th season of his career. Despite being 32 years old and fresh off that injury, Lawrence has made it known that he will not be retiring this offseason, leaving the Cowboys with a tough decision: retain one of the long-term staples of the team or let him finish his career in another uniform. The Cowboys have already interviewed multiple defensive ends at the 2025 Combine, and many are wondering if the Cowboys are in pursuit of finding depth for Lawrence or his replacement altogether. Even though Lawrence is now currently 100% healthy and ready to get back on the field, the Cowboys very well could be going in a different direction. Dallas needs to get younger and cheaper in order to put them in the best position possible to compete in the future. The overall makeup of the franchise has already been noticeably altered to begin the offseason as well. Dallas lost another core 2014 draft pick in Zach Martin to retirement, and have also hired a first-time head coach in Brian Schottenheimer to replace Mike McCarthy. With prominent changes already being made by Dallas, it's not hard to imagine that parting ways with Lawrence could be one more to add to the list. And that's why Jay Tuck has losing DeMarcus Lawrence to free agency as the Dallas Cowboys' surprise offseason move. Next up is KB, who has the New York Giants pulling off a franchise-altering move by trading up to the number 1 overall pick in the 2025 NFL Draft. The Giants have been desperately trying to find their new face of the franchise ever since Eli Manning hung up the cleats in 2020. After drafting Daniel Jones with the 6th overall pick in the 2019 NFL Draft, the Giants front office had thought they had secured Manning's successor for the long haul. Unfortunately, this wound up resulting in the opposite of what Giants fans were hoping for. Daniel Jones would end up going 24, 45, and 1 in his career as a Giant before being released in the middle of last season. The G-men now find themselves back to square one and are determined to not make the same mistake they made last time they were put in this position. And KB believes that trading up to the number 1 overall pick is the best way to ensure this. As it stands currently, the Giants have the number 3 overall pick. And while their future franchise QB could very well fall to them at that spot without the need to trade up, it's a risk that KB is not willing to take. The idea of Tennessee drafting a quarterback with the number 1 overall pick is far from a certainty, but is at the very minimum a possibility. The number 2 overall pick seems to have less speculation surrounding it, as the general consensus is that Cleveland will be drafting a quarterback in this spot regardless of what the Titans decide to do. With the potential of the top 2 quarterbacks in the draft, Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders, being off the board by the time the Giants are on the clock next month, the Giants must find a way to get to the front of the pack if they want to guarantee themselves their pick of the QB litter. Tennessee has already indicated that, for the right price, they'd be willing to move off their top spot. Finding a way for the Giants to be that suitor could be a career-altering move for GM Joe Schoen, who many Giants fans felt may have been let go following a very public and lackluster 2024 offseason. Shane and the Giants as a whole now have the opportunity to right the wrongs of the past and revitalize the franchise, bringing in the quarterback that could help pull the Giants out of the hole they've found themselves in for the last decade. And that's why KB has trading up to the #1 overall pick as the New York Giants' surprise offseason move. Let's go to Rio, who has losing Dante Fowler Jr. as the Washington Commanders' surprise offseason move. After being drafted by the Jacksonville Jaguars in 2016, Dante Fowler Jr. found himself bouncing around the league throughout his 10-year career. After spending multiple seasons with the Rams, Falcons, and Cowboys, Fowler Jr. wound up in Washington in 2024, where he experienced a career resurgence. The 30-year-old linebacker tallied 39 total tackles, 10.5 sacks, and 2 forced fumbles in 2024, all 3 good for the second most in a season in his career. He also snagged his only interception of his career this past season. Fowler Jr. now enters his 11th season in the NFL as a free agent, and questions loom as to whether or not the Commanders will retain their leading sacker or let him walk to what would be the 6th different team of his career. The Commanders certainly have the cap space to keep Fowler Jr. in the building, with Washington having the 3rd most available cap space in the league this offseason. The question, however, is whether or not GM Adam Peters is willing to pay Fowler Jr. more than the $3.25 million he earned a season ago. Fowler Jr.'s current fair market value, according to SpotTrack, is $5.2 million a year. And while that is certainly a number that Washington could accommodate, the Commanders may feel that they've already gotten the most that the 11-year vet has to offer, and they may look in another direction at pass rush this offseason. And that's why Rio has losing Dante Fowler Jr. as the Washington Commanders' surprise offseason move. Last but not least is Eagle Al, who has retaining Zach Bond as the Philadelphia Eagles' surprise offseason move. If you watched our previous video on the NFC East Roundtable's top free agency priorities, you'd have saw that retaining Zach Bond was at the top of Eagle Al's list, and it's no secret as to why. Bond is considered to be perhaps the best available defensive player in free agency, which could make keeping him an Eagle one of GM Howie Roseman's toughest tasks this offseason. The Athletic's Diana Rossini reported on the Scoop City podcast that Bond has a great market. So great, in fact, that the reigning Super Bowl champions could get outpriced by other teams in the league eager to add a talent like Bond on their defense. Rossini would go on to report that there are a lot of teams who have expressed interest in Bond already, and that he is going to command an expensive payday by either Philly or a team that is willing to outbid them. Bond only made $3.5 million during his 2024 stint in Philly and far outperformed the value of his contract. Bond was arguably the best linebacker in the entire league this past season and had career highs in nearly all prominent statistical categories. Bond was a cornerstone for the Eagles defense in 2024, and one of the main reasons they were able to become the best defense in the entire league and decimate the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl. While many teams may be throwing their hat in on the Zach Bond ring, Al knows how much the 28-year-old 5-year vet means to the future of the Eagles' defensive prominence, and is confident that Howie Roseman can once again find a way to pull a rabbit out of the hat. And that's why Eagle Al has retaining Zach Bond as the Philadelphia Eagles' surprise offseason move. On your way out the door, like button if you could, subscribe button if you could, and make sure to head on over to BetUS and take advantage of the promo code YouTube150. It'll get you a 150% sign-up bonus up to $2,000 on your first deposit and 125% bonus on your next 2 after that. Thanks so much, as always, for tuning into the NFC East Roundtable, and we'll see you on the next one.